Hey everybody, this is Polyphonic blog number 14, and I'm going to have two quick ones right in a row. I've got 14 and 15. This one's a little late because I'm going to show you one of the projects that I'm working on right now that has been a really fantastic project, but unfortunately at the time I wasn't really allowed to talk really any specific details about it. One of the things that we encounter sometimes, particularly in Los Angeles, and this isn't always a necessarily performing gig, but sometimes with one of the gigs that I'm working on right now, which is, as you can see, transcription gigs, is confidentiality agreements. And one of the clients that I was working for, we had to sign a confidentiality agreement with him, and so can't really talk about anything, and if you do, you get into a lot of trouble. But unfortunately, like, now that everything's been sorted out, you never want to kind of talk about some things in Los Angeles unless you're sure that you can, because for example, some of my colleagues have done gigs at very wealthy celebrities sometimes have weddings, or family members of celebrities. And I recall one of my colleagues telling me about a gig where they had to meet at an off-site location, and they had to surrender everything but their instruments in order, as part of the gig, and that's actually stipulated in their contract. So they just walk in, and they have no idea who they're playing a gig for. They just know they're going to get paid for it, and it can be crazy sometimes. Some of the people that they did, I think. This particular gig was one of the members of the Commodores, I think, had a wedding, or a friend's wedding or something like that, and they hired out a pretty big group, but you can't take cameras in, you can't do anything, and you really have to honor that, because if you don't, you blab about it, and you find out about it, bad stuff can happen, and you end up, people realize that, no, don't hire these people, because if somebody says so-and-so is in town and going to be at this location, particularly if you're dealing with a celebrity, the ever-present paparazzi can show up and can sometimes ruin what might be a really important occasion, like a wedding or something like that. So, but this particular gig, I kind of mentioned that in one of my previous blogs, is I'm working for Frank Townsend. I'm working for Frank Symes, who's the musical director for the band The Who. And one of the things that they wanted to do is, Frank is doing a lot of arranging, and so as a result, he's got a ton of music that he wants to get organized for, Pete Townsend, Roger Daltrey, and it's one of these things where it's really exciting, but it can be pretty intense, and it's a lot of music. They want their entire Quadrophenia album on book. And so that's what I'm doing right now. I'm sure it's exciting and thrilling to look, but these are the two programs that I use. That's Sibelius, and this is a program called Transcriber. And pretty much, Sibelius, you probably all know what it does. It's real straightforward. Transcribe is a program that provides you the ability to scrub slower or faster on sections of music where it might be really difficult, or there's a lot of voices. And so pretty much all I'm doing right now is I have the recordings, and as many of you know, you can't take a wave recording and put it into Sibelius, put it into a music notation program. There's no way to do that yet, effectively, I should say. And even sometimes when you try to convert to MIDI, or you rip a MIDI file offline, it'll quantify really weird, so you get like these off by a 32nd or sometimes a 64th note, because metrically, they may not be right in time, but the computer can't differentiate that all, perfectly, because it's, it's humans, it's analog, we're not locked to a grid. So, I'm just ripping it by ear, and going through all their stuff, and some of the tracks, fortunately, they have, like, the synths pan hard right, so that means I have all of the synths in my right ear that I'm ripping, and sometimes you don't, and so this is a reason to really pay attention in music theory class for your dictations, because this can be a very lucrative business. And one of my colleagues here works for works for transcribing on projects like Guitar Hero, transcribing all the solos from all sorts of stuff. So just another reason to pay attention in theory class. I know it's hard sometimes, particularly if you have 8:30 in the morning classes. But this stuff can really pay off, and it's a great supplemental income aside of teaching and performing. This is something else that you can, do on your own time as long as you meet the expectations. So, anyway, hope you're doing well, and I'll have another one up here coming pretty quickly.